All right. Hey everybody, we are live. It is let's mark this time. It is November 21st, Tuesday, November 21st, 2023 at 9 p.m. And it is the day the Pittsburgh Steelers made history. They fired somebody in season. So today we are taking a moment to kind of get reactions, collect ourselves, gather ourselves, and kind of see what this means as we digest the first firing of a lot of Steelers fans' lifetimes of an offensive coordinator. Unfortunately, Matt Canada lost his job today. So we're going to talk about it. And I have some people, this is a live show, and we have people that want to come in and give their takes and feelings and opinions. And so I'm going to add some people to the stage. But first and foremost, I want to say this doesn't clear the Steelers of everything that's going on, but it's a step in a direction. And I'm not going to say it's the right direction, but it's a step in a new direction. And it shines a big light on the quarterback. In my personal opinion, before everybody else gets to share theirs, I think this is Kenny Pickett's opportunity to win the locker room back, to become the leader that we think he can be. And to me, on the offense, it's Najee's team. He's the leader. But I think it's time for Kenny to kind of put those shoes back on and pull those big boy pants up and lead this team and win that locker room back. So I'm going to add guests to the stage and see how they feel about it. So let's get this show started. What's up, guys?
Hey, Ken. Hey, D.
Hey, hi,
Hi.
Alex. Hi,
How
Tim.
are you guys?
I am amazing. First, I want to ask you guys, where were you when you found out that Matt Canada lost his job this morning?
Ken, go ahead.
Truthfully, I woke up to it. I was
You're in
up late
bed.
last night and heard my phone and saw the text and our son Jordan let me know. It was like, wow, because we were just talking about this last night and it didn't seem possible that the Steelers would actually do this in season. But I applaud them. They're trying to salvage a season, and they're still in a good position. And I honestly, I've been saying this all along. I still think we're going to finish 11-6 and in the playoffs. And I think that we can win a playoff game. And if Kenny does progress at the end of this year, got to feel good about next year then too, if those things happen. But I hate to see anybody lose their job, but it was long overdue in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, I'm not trying to sit here and sound like I'm celebrating someone losing their job. That's not what's happening. We're just kind of just getting the reactions because it's something that we've never seen before. It doesn't happen with this organization. So, Alex, where were you when you found out? I imagine people were just waking up.
I was like Ken. It's the first thing I woke up to. Our group chat was just going insane. So I just heard ding, ding, ding on my phone. I was like, "What is happening?"
Mhm.
And clicked the tweet, and that's the news that I read. And like Ken said, it's unprecedented. The first time they fired a coordinator midseason ever. They've been playing football since 1933. First time they've ever
Mhm.
done something like this, and it's what I suspect, and I don't know this to be a fact, but I suspect you felt the frustration in this locker room from the loss and just the struggles this offense has had, the past game in particular over the last month. And I think they got to a point where Tomlin knew that, felt that. I mean, if Najee Harris and company are saying these things publicly and venting that frustration, imagine what they're saying behind closed doors. Imagine what the bus ride was like back home to Cleveland. And so I think to almost save that locker room to kind of keep things together and make sure they don't fracture when they're 6-4, and as Ken said, can still make the playoffs, you had to make a move. And so this offense was as poor as my lighting is right now. I apologize for that. And the change had to be made.
Yeah. So for me, I was working out, it was the middle of the workout, and I got a message from my friend and like, like you okay? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And I got another message, and then I got another message, and I'm like, what is going on? And yeah, so it was a little cuckoo. This is I was, working, but that's also in the middle of a workout at the same time. So it was interesting. The world kind of stopped for a second. So mind you, my day was distracted by all of this. And I want to say when I watched him the week before last at the home game, and I wrote kind of down of what I saw seeing him on the field because it was his second time on the sidelines. It was my first time sitting because I was actually sitting with Ken in the end zone uh the first game he was on the sideline. So it was my first time sitting behind the players and getting the visual like I normally get of them. And I watched him and I watched Allen Robinson was probably the only one that went up to him and kind of like dapped him, before the game started on that sideline. Everybody else kind of just, it was almost like he wasn't there. And then the interactions, when he would talk to Kenny, he would, they'd be sitting on the bench and they'd be talking, but they're not looking at each other. Whereas other coordinators, when they're coming to you, talking to you, they're in front of your face, they're looking at you, they're looking at each other in the eye. There was a significant body language thing that showed me there was a lack of respect for him. And I couldn't quite put it into words like what it is, but it just felt like you're talking, I'm just looking off to the side, I'm looking here. But if, when he's on the bench with the other coaches, they're having like real conversations. And when him and Mitch is talking, they're looking at each other. But when that, it wasn't that. And then when they were on the field, Matt was so far away from the play. Like they would be at the 30. He's on the opposite side. Like he's down there where the defense is, and they're over on the opposite side of the field. And he's, calling plays from there. And I thought that was strange. And I don't know if he just needed that point of view. I don't think that that's normal for where he was standing and calling plays, but there were just so many weird things. I could tell he was nervous. He was a big pacer. He paced back and forth all game, pre-games, just a big pacer. And there were just so many things I noticed about him. Like he's not comfortable here. This is not a comfortable situation. And so that to me made me feel like this was kind of like, kind of like last strike, so to speak. We're going to put you out here. I'm really going to observe you. We're going to see how this works, how this gels. And although, of course, I don't think anybody could really predict the Steelers firing someone in season, and we know that a lot of people wanted it to happen, it was just hard for me to see them break that routine. But it happened. It happened.
And I would just say, while I don't blame all the struggles on Matt Canada, nobody should. It's a
Right.
collective. And I think in particular, again, this last month, the problem has been Kenny Pickett more than it has been Matt Canada. I thought against
Okay.
Tennessee, for example, Canada called one of the best games he's ever called in Pittsburgh. A low bar, but a really good game. Now against Cleveland, I thought the play calling was pretty mediocre at best. But when you're the OC, you're the coach, and we're talking body of work, what is your resume? The players reflect your resume. It is a results oriented bottom line league. Did you succeed or not succeed? Did you put up points or not put up points? No excuses, no explanations, no nothing. And the results have been abysmal under Canada, and they are only getting worse. And in 2021, you could sit there and say, well, it's first year for him with Ben, awkward fit. Okay, fine. We can move on. 2022, you could sit there and say, well, youngest offense in football, changing quarterbacks, transition year. Fair enough. 2023 was supposed to be the year where it all came together. That's the reason why they kept Canada, for the continuity of it all. And
Yep.
this team's been generally healthy. There's weapons. There's no big excuse for it. It's just been bad. And so when it's this bad over this period of time, you make a change.
Yeah. And look, I'm still in shock. I can't lie. I am still in shock that it happened, but it is one of, like I said it before you guys came on, the big thing now, the elephant in the room that a lot of people aren't talking about is Kenny Pickett running this locker room back. That was just one step, right? That was almost process of elimination. Okay, we got problems. Let's see if this helps solve it. I still feel like there's a lack of respect for Kenny Pickett. I feel like there's a lack of leadership missing from Kenny Pickett. We all see that he could play better. So he's got to win back that locker room. How do you think that he does that? Or do you guys even agree with anything I'm saying?
Ken, go ahead.
Kenny's not been playing well. Personally, I have to question We were at that game. Dee, you were sitting behind me, making your presence known to everyone down there by the field, I must say, in a good way. And he didn't really play all that well that night. The running game has really come on since they started Broderick at right tackle. Very, very happy about that. But I go back to the injury against the Jaguars, and I
Mhm.
just wonder, is he still suffering from the injury? Maybe he's not able to make some throws that he would normally make. I don't know, but I think we're all in agreement he needs to play better. I think he will eventually. I'm still, the jury's still out. Yeah, I'm not a Kenny Pickett truther or whatever the terminology they're using
Mhm.
nowadays are. But by the same token, I'm not down on him either. But he needs to prove himself.
I agree.
So your stance was about Pickett trying to regain respect in the locker room?
Respect, yeah, I feel like he has I know we say Canada probably never even had control of the locker room, just giving the tenure and things that but I feel like Kenny has kinda lost his receiving core, pretty lost this offense. I don't feel like he's the leader of this offense. I feel like Najee's more of the leader of this offense than a Kenny Pickett. So can he regain that? Or do you even agree that he's not the quote unquote leader of this offense?
It's hard for me to speak to how they feel about him as a leader. I think Kenny is a leader. I think he's just born a leader, the way that some
Mhm,
people naturally are. I think he's been that guy at Pitt. I think that's the thing he's been trying to do. I think successfully prior to the season. There's a lot of frustration, I'm sure, with Pickett. Deontay, in particular, his comments yesterday seemed very frustrated with just the lack of production and him being open, not getting the ball like he should. But regardless of whether or not that premise is true or not, the solution is all the same. You got to play better. Just you
right.
play better, you win, you execute, everybody's happy, they're feeling good, and you're going to gain that respect, leadership if it's absent right now, which I don't know if it is or not. So, no matter what the issue is, the solution is all the same. Play better, produce, and everyone will be happy.
Yeah, so I think they need some team building activities, especially with the wide receiver core. We've seen it from week to week. One week it's George, and then it's Najee or it's Deontay or like it's been consistent. These guys have had issues, win or loss, right? It's been something whether the Steelers have come out with a W or come out with an L. It just seems like this team still isn't on track. And with the new guys taking over, I do want to ask you. So we have one guy that's going to be the OC, and we have another guy that is going to be play calling. How do you see that being beneficial to this offense?
Ken, if you want to start, feel free.
Alex, you know far more than I do, and honestly, guys, I am honored to be with you because you two are absolutely my favorites when it comes to Steeler media. There is no better. So
We'll
Oh,
please
that's
go
appreciate
right
awesome.
that.
ahead.
We got a lot of comments here too, so they'll be rolling in as well. So
Mhm.
feel free to ask questions as well. I'm sure we'll get people pop in. I know people are camera shy, so I know people are gonna be typing away and they're watching. So we're on Twitter Live, we're on YouTube Live, and maybe Facebook. I have to see, but yeah. So yeah. So do you have an opinion
Mhm.
on the OC and the
Sure.
play calling duties being kind of split?
Sure. No, it's interesting to kind of see
Mhm,
this dual role in the way that Tomlin defined it as Mike Sullivan, the actual true play caller, and Eddie Faulkner, kind of more the, and I'm being a little short and trite with it, but the Monday through Saturday guy, organizing, leading, running the room, essentially. They're
mhm,
giving up responsibilities. I think Sullivan as a play caller is a no-brainer. He's an experienced NFL guy. He's been an OC before. He's called plays before with Tampa Bay, with the Giants. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He's coached great quarterbacks. He's worked with Kenny Pickett literally every single day of Kenny Pickett's NFL career. So that's a logical thing to have that voice still in his ear. I think Faulkner's a really smart guy, and I'm not going to pretend like I know this guy the way that those inside the building do. But just observing him at training camp, for example, you watch him conduct a practice. And the thing that stuck out to me most about Faulkner was he's always mixed up his practice drills. It's not the same thing every single day where it's boring and monotonous. It's a different drill that'll teach the same thing, but just done in a different way. And I think I really respect that. He's the longest tenured offensive coach on the staff, if you can believe it, since 2019.
Mm.
I think he's an up and comer, and he's got some OC experience. He did that at Ball State. He actually was for about a month in 2010 the Ball State interim head coach when they
Oh.
fired the guy in 2010 before they hired the replacement. Faulkner was the interim head coach. He never coached a game in that capacity, but he actually held that role for a short time. So a little bit of that he can probably lean on as well. So how it'll look, it's hard to say. I'm okay with it overall. It's interesting, but I think it's a right and fair decision by Mike Tomlin.
Alex is always going to give us some information we had no idea about. So I had no idea his history. And a lot of people don't even know who these guys are just because they get stuck on OCDC Tomlin. That's it. So it's refreshing to, just have a little bit of insight, be able to kind of talk through that. And my thing is, what needs to happen? We saw a run game be established in the last couple weeks and be effective between Najee and Jalen. So we're missing the middle of the field passes. We know that. He likes to target on the sidelines here. We gotta figure out a way to make these creative plays. But what do you guys see happening to make Kenny look like the quarterback we know he can be, that we saw glimpses of last season?
I mean, there's no, to me, magical answer to that. Pickett also just has to plainly play better. There's been so many
Yeah.
plays there for the taking, again, the last month in particular, that he's not executed, including in that Cleveland game. But I think just being able to, you know, what I thought Canada's worst trait was not sequencing plays well. He wouldn't, have this one play set up to run another off of it or run the same concept from a different look and really like the high level coaches are able to do, just pairing the run game with the pass game efficiently and effectively. I didn't see that. I didn't see guys being put in conflict enough, defenders being stressed. So many routes were independent of each other. It didn't. It feels like an offense where just go win your route instead of
Yeah.
having a real fluid scheme and concept to it that makes life easier on the quarterback and the receiver. So I think that's a big aspect of it overall. But again, there's going to be an element of this where the players just have to execute.
Yeah. Bryce just joined us. Hi, Bryce. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Good, good. How are you feeling? What's your initial reaction to the release of Matt Canada?
So I was driving this morning and I looked down at my phone and I thought it was a joke. And until I saw like it was actually like trending at the top of the page. And I was like, oh, this is real.
This is real. It's an early Christmas gift for the fans of the Steelers. Man, I feel like I'm on a radio show right now. This is funny. I like I said earlier, I just cannot believe that this has happened. It almost feels like a death. I don't know why. It feels like somebody died to me. And no one's sad about it, but it's like I'm kind of like, wow, like this is something that never happens. It's shocking. You kind of got to pick up the pieces a little bit, but there's like so much hope because we still are in a great position. It's not like last year where we're like 2-7 and 3, whatever. We're in a really good position to make playoffs. The Steelers ultimately can control their own destiny and win, and as long as they win football games, can make a playoff run. And I think you alluded to it earlier, Ken. So just scoring more points. I think that's something that Coach Tomlin brought up today. Another thing he brought up today was he made this decision solely on his own. And a piece of me doesn't 100% believe it, but I'm okay with it, even if he did. But a piece of me is like 90% no, 90% he did and 10% he didn't on his own. Do you guys feel any way about that? I'll start with you, Bryce, and then we'll go Ken and then Alex. You're muted, Bryce, so if you want to. But you can.
I think the big question like now becomes, and I think I've seen people talk about it all day long, is do they stay in their old ways and promote from within, or do they look outside the organization this time?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
Got to say hi to my friend Bryce. Always good to see you, buddy. And I'm thinking that the minority owners of the Steelers may have been in Mr. Rooney's ear regarding this.
Hmm.
I have no evidence of that, but I have a feeling that may have come into play. And yes, I think ultimately Mike made the call, but I think with the blessing of the Rooney family, and that's just my personal opinion.
I would say, well, nobody knows, and there's been some conflicting reports, and Tomlin said what he said. I
Right.
have a hard time believing that Pittsburgh has done something they have never done in their history, and ownership had no involvement in it, and just said, "All right, Mike,
Bingo.
whatever you want is cool with me." I
Bingo.
have to think there was some conversation there, and Mike Tomlin's not being fully truthful, but taking his role as leader as he should and as he is to say this is my decision alone, as opposed to trying to pass this off to somebody else. So I can respect Tomlin for that, but yeah, I got a beach in Pittsburgh to sell you if you don't think Art Rooney had something to do with that. There was some conversation prior to this.
I'm telling you, listen, I before he said that, I was telling people, look, I know we like to make Tomlin the face of everything. And he actually said it in the press conference. Like, I take it. Like, I'm the leader, whatever. He kind of safeguards people and he doesn't have a problem doing it. And he told you that also while telling you, like, yeah, it was my decision. I did it. No, it's mine and mine only. And so again, like you said, the one thing they don't do to say that he was 100%, it's like, okay, I hear you. But then I was like, I don't believe you. That's okay. Like, you got to say it. It's cool. It's the way that it goes as a leader. I got it. But it's really hard for me to say that no one else was like, look, man, we got to make a decision, especially because I think that locker room, the energy in that locker room is a lot different. Again, it's like you said, Alex, it's coming out on television through the interviews and stuff. They just don't look, not that they just don't look happy. They don't look like they're getting along. And Tomlin is a guy that galvanizes people to put their all in it. And when you see guys and I didn't even listen to these interviews. I see the body language. I see the facial expressions. When you just see guys that just look deflated, and it's not just a regular loss. It's just like, we're really stuck in the mud here. And we cannot figure out a way to get out. Every week we say we're going to get better, and it doesn't feel like we're getting better. So when something like that happens to a guy who is this motivator and can get teams to do the unthinkable and make the unthinkable happen, like last year, when you get to that point, I feel like a decision has to be made. But again, still didn't see them doing it. So I still think that he didn't make it on his own. But hey,
If I could just say two things briefly.
yeah.
You're right. You don't have to listen to the interviews. You could put them on mute and see the
Mhm.
body language and feel that tension and the frustration. And they should be frustrated. The offense has been miserable this season. And while we can debate, and I gave an answer about if it was Rooney Tomlin combination, the reality is it does not matter who the decision came from. They got to
Mhm.
improve. Canada's gone. Sullivan Faulkner taking over. They're 6-4. You're in a stretch run here. AFC North game on the road against Cincinnati on Sunday, 1 o'clock. They got to go. They got to make it work. You can't drop to Cincinnati. You can't drop to 6-5, 2-2 in the North, lose 2 backup quarterbacks in your division.
Yep.
And if they do, we're having these conversations again, and it's going to be a long chant to fire Faulkner and Sullivan. It doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as fire Canada. The signs will have to get larger on college game day, I guess. But again, we can debate all we want about who made the call. The call was made. Let's see how
Mhm.
it improves.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, execution to me has been the problem for a few weeks now, and I was defending Canada because, like, again, I felt like execution was the problem, and now if execution continues to be the bigger problem, what do you do? What's the next step? What do the Pittsburgh Steelers do if they continue to not be able to execute, especially in the red zone, to get the point, get in the end zone? And like, what do they do? What's the next step? Anybody got any ideas?
Hmm. Ken, Bryce, you guys can jump in if you'd like.
What happens?
Go for it, Alex.
I mean, I would just say, we'll cross that bridge if we come to it.
Yeah,
Why are they not executing? Is it more on Pickett? Are we seeing the same schematic issues? And I understand this team cannot redraw its playbook for the rest of the season.
yeah,
There'll be tweaks, but there is going to be a change in terms of how you run plays and your sequence of plays and your approach and your script and just little things like that. And the got to have it moments. Those things can be different by a new perspective and a new player. So the answer is we'll see. But if not, then the players will be called into question. The blame cannot be passed off to Canada anymore. And you take a hard look at your roster and say, what changes do we have to make there?
yeah. I did see a clip from Cam Hayward's podcast. He did mention the firing, and wasn't celebrating it, and definitely says the team needs to play better. The as you saw, the offense could have played better, and then the defense could have made a one more stop. All they needed was one more stop, and unfortunately, they were gassed and missing the assignments and letting Cleveland move the ball down the field. And but the offense, we just got to go back to the offense because it was two drives where one, you were this close to really being in field goal range and really being able to put some points on the board, and to just have that game in the way that it did. I think it really took everything out of both sides. We don't hear the defense has just been dismantled with injuries. Starting with Cam in the beginning, Minka, uh, Lord Cole, Montravius Adams. Who else is out now? Quan Alexander. I mean, the defense is just going through all these changes and guys just coming in, learning signals, just being new, and they're still managing to keep us in the game. And for me, it is, I don't know how those guys feel, but a 3 and out for multiple series has to be frustrating. Has to be frustrating. And I don't know, I don't have an answer, and I just hope that these guys can figure out a way to stay on the field to help this defense continue to be dynamic and continue to give them the ball and they score points with it. Because
No,
that has to
absolutely.
be frustrating.
It is. And just to kind of make a quick comparison, you saw with the Raiders. I mean, that was a more drastic change to fire McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, head coach and GM. But
Yeah.
there was a tension that left that room. When they did that, Devontae Adams went from the saddest man you've ever seen to just throwing a party. And they were still the Raiders. They're still like a middling team, like they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. But there was this kind of just, you can drop your shoulders for a second, not have this, will they, won't they fire him, keep him, the conversation, just this frustration of, okay, we recognize there's a problem, there's a change. There's no guarantee it's going to be fixed. This offense is not going to become the Chiefs or the Eagles or some high flying machine, but just to kind of take the tension out of the room for a second and say, okay, well, guys, let's reset. New voice in here, some changes, hopefully some guys being heard more. I think maybe the guys just feel like we're heard. The player Tomlin has heard our concerns, our frustrations, and something is being done about it, drastic as it is. So there's a benefit to that.
I don't disagree. Bryce and Ken, do you have anything you want to add?
I just wonder how much influence Deontay Johnson, what happened with him on the sideline Sunday, and Najee's comments had to do with either Mike Tomlin or Art Rooney, whoever made the decision to fire Canada today.
Yeah, I think like we said a little earlier, I think all of the things to me kind of like snowballed. I think it's just a snowball effect. And to be completely honest, I've actually been around people that were telling me he was game to game, but I just wasn't believing it. And I should have took it a little more seriously. But because it never happened, I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. But I was really being fed he's game to game, almost like, okay, you win, you live to see another day, in so many words. And those are the things that were being said, but I just took it as a grain of salt, like, yeah, whatever, they're not gonna fire him. But I should have took heed to where those little pieces of breadcrumbs are being dropped. And I decided to just ignore it because I'm like, they never do that. So wow, hindsight is 2020, and to know that was a possibility. And you hear the media all the time say it, but you're like, they're gonna do what they want to do. The Rooneys are who they are. They a organization built off tradition, and it's just something that doesn't happen. But here we are.
Yeah, I would just say to Bryce's point, again, we can't know for sure. I wouldn't think any one incident or comment would sway Tomlin or ownership, but it's emblematic of probably the culmination of everything. Again, if these things are happening in public, only imagine what's occurring behind closed doors. I wish somebody would write a book about this whole season, really, just what people's real thoughts and feelings were. I mean, Najee Harris was frustrated, but even he said, I want to say this, but I'm not going to say this. So what was he leaving out? Like, I'd love to know. I'd love to give Najee some truth serum just to hear the whole story from his perspective. So I think it's probably just one example of the larger picture of the frustration that really was the catalyst to a change.
Yeah, I think if anybody wants to tell the truth, it's probably I think he wants to probably keep it as real as anyone. And I didn't like I said again, I didn't listen to Najee, but just kind of knowing how he is and the competitor in him, and again the leader in him, he he wants this, and there's like it's just so much that can't come out of that can. Like it was bound to explode, and I think the explosion kind of happened here. So EMAC put up the Kansas offense didn't utilize the middle of the field and didn't target the tight ends enough. I hope that changes. We do have Pat Fryermuth back, and you have a Darnell Washington who probably what I think has 3 catches on the season, should to me be a lot more, especially because Pat's been out for so long. But I understand how they were using him. But the middle of the field has been a thing that they haven't used much. Do you see it being changing immediately, or do we think it's going to be a progressive thing?
Ken, what you thinking?
Anybody?
I think it'll take some time.
Mhm.
I mean, the one thing that does concern me for the rest of the year with the offensive coaching staff is, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they're all Canada guys. They've all been with Canada at other stops along the way, and that's what concerns me. But the play calling sequences have to get better. I can't see that staying the same or getting worse. So I think there we have some hope. But yeah, I agree. Fryermuth needs to be targeted, and Darnell, when we get down to the red zone area, why are we not looking his way? I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, the middle of the field has to be used more than it is, which is to say at least once, because it's not being used at all right now.
Right.
So we're a very low bar to start this off. To me, I'm a little less concerned about being hyper focused on that, because sometimes that's dictated by coverages and who you have personnel wise.
Yeah.
Middle of field close. Hey, listen, Kenny loves throwing sideline. Like, he's most comfortable man coverage throwing to Pickens and Johnson on the outside. That's why
Yep.
your offense runs through, understandably so. But I would just say the offense, while it can be focused around Deontay and Pickens and should be focused around Deontay and Pickens, it can't be solely focused around Deontay and Pickens. You can't have 2 guys in your whole passing game. I mean, there's
Mhm.
nothing from Allen Robinson, a couple of third down catches, and he's been key there. But I mean, he's caught like 3 passes the last 4 or 5 games. Calvin Austin has not had a role, a plan for him since Deontay came back. The tight ends have given you nothing, and a couple checkdowns to the backs, but that's it. So you can't have a passing offense with just 2 dudes and expect to win at a high level with a struggling quarterback right now. So it's got to be more just utilization of other people in general as opposed to specific areas of the field.
I think the screen game is going to be a thing more. So I think we'll see more screens.
Hopefully
Um,
better at it, because they already
yeah,
venture
look,
running
I
screens.
think
It's tough.
yeah, I mean, look for it against the AFC North team. And the one freaking thing I loved about what Cleveland was doing, just little like they called it dink and dunk when it was in Todd Haley's offense, right? Get rid of the ball. Like, just you have a guy like Jalen Warren that is getting yards beyond being touched. It's just disgusting. He was disrespecting those guys on Sunday, and you decide you got to get colorful with that. You see what this man is doing and how he's taking guys off their feet with his hand and his body. And why stop using that? Why stop using that weapon? Anyway, sorry, I want to get on a tangent here, but we got Mikey with 7 games remaining. If Kenny still looks the same and shows no further growth, what's the likelihood the organization will be looking at a QB early in this year's draft? Likelihood. Anybody want to guess?
Yeah, it's tough to know. I mean, there's we'll have
It's
we'll
the
have plenty of
Steelers.
time for those conversations. Once
Yeah.
the season wraps up. Obviously this team will not be picking top 5, top 10, probably not top 15. So trying to get a top tier quarterback will be difficult to do. My sense of it is, and Dave Bryan and I from Steelers Depot have talked about this, they'll probably run back Pickett in 2024. They're going to give him at least one more year with the new OC. Hope things get better with the new guy. The only counterpoint I would offer to that is Omar Khan did not draft Kenny Pickett. Andy Weidel was not in Pittsburgh when Kenny Pickett got drafted. That was the last first round pick by Kevin Colbert. So if there is a claim to make on Khan's end and the GM side of things, it's, hey, we did not draft Kenny Pickett. That was the other guy. So would that give them a compelling reason to look for a change? Potentially. But my sense is Pickett will be the starter in 2024.
Yeah, I don't see them moving on from him this soon. And look, Kenny's got a dose of Mitchell Trubisky's medicine from last year, right? And if he continues to play, he will know exactly how Mitch felt last year when they were calling for the next guy. So who's to say they won't start yelling, "We want Mason"? And that to me is the ultimate freaking confidence drainer. When you hear those fans yell for one, for you to be getting fired, and 2, for somebody else to come out there and do your job. And I feel for him. I don't agree with it, but I just know how these fans are. They want instant gratification, and they give these players and coaches a little room for error. So I hope that they get it together. I don't see him going anywhere for a little while. So I think the chances of them moving up in the draft are slim. And even though this is a lot better of a draft of quarterbacks than the one that Kenny Pickett came off, I think there was desperation in that sense, because Ben was leaving, he's not coming back, and you had Mason and you had Mitchell Trubisky, and that was it. So there was a little bit of desperation in that call that Kevin made, but and they went for it. So yes, this pool is better, and you kind of look like what's next pool potentially looking like, and I think that'll probably kind of help them make some decisions here. What's coming down the line and what's right in front of us. So, but I think they still roll with him next year. Anybody else? Ken or Bryce, you got anything you want to add to?
No, I agree with you 100%. I don't see them going away. I could see them, if the right guy was there in the 4th or 5th round and they felt they could groom him, as a future backup to Kenny. I could see that happening, because Mitch does have a pretty big salary cap hit for a backup quarterback. So that's the only thing I'd add.
Yeah, I agree too. I feel like it's unfortunate that Kenny got the start last year. Took over in week 4, and he's only had Matt Canada since then, all the way up until now. So I feel like some of his career's kind of been a little bit wasted due to such a disastrous hire.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
If I-
look.
If I could
go
just
ahead.
add just a couple more things really quickly, and
Yeah.
I agree with what you guys were saying, and I like CT Pittman's comment about Canada not countering. I think the other criticism central to Canada is, to me, the mark of a coach, the goal of a coach is to maximize your players, elevate your players, make them better than what they are in your scheme. And I can't think of one player that Matt Canada did that for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense in his 3 years as Steelers OC. Who did he? Now the players did not elevate him. He did not elevate the players though either. So to me, that's a central concern of why you dump the guy. 2, very small point, very nerdy for myself, but I would also
We love
anticipate,
it.
yeah, just full Alex nerd here for 2 seconds. I would expect Matt Tomshow, this team's quality control coach, to be let go after the season as well. He's been Canada's right-hand man his entire career, essentially followed him from college to college. And so don't know that for sure, just my putting 2 and 2 together. I would expect Matt Tomshow at the least to be a coaching subtraction this offseason. And then finally, to the point about Pickett is, it's fair. Canada was not good for Pickett's development, but in one sense, he was good for Kenny because Pickett, to a degree, was shielded from the criticism. It all went towards
Exactly.
Canada. It was
Yep.
taken, the heat was taken off of Pickett. So with
Mhm.
Canada out, if Pickett struggles, there's no one else to blame but the quarterback, but Kenny Pickett. And so we're going to find out a lot about Kenny Pickett these next 7 games, who he is, who he isn't. And if he does not improve, talk about the chants and the calls, all that, it's shifted away
Changes.
from Canada to one
Yep.
Kenny Pickett.
And I alluded to that in the preview of this. His security blanket of Matt Canada is gone. That is gone, and it sounds like a big win. And I told one group this. I was like, don't clap too loud because he is fully exposed. He is fully exposed for everything that he is and everything that he isn't. So and like I said, it's process of elimination. Let's fix Matt Canada first. He's gone, done. What else is the problem? And so I hope that Kenny is able to put something together to make him, look better, play better, get this offense in the end zone. Period. So if not, then they're like I said, those fans. It's gonna start with the fans. It might start with your teammates because I think they are a little bit frustrated. So it might start there in the locker room, but those fans are gonna be making noise. I think this was the first week I heard the fans really point at Kenny. It's been a lot of Matt Canada, and I'm not saying they weren't pointing at Matt too, but this is the first week where I really saw fans kind of be like, "All right, Kenny, I don't know if Kenny's the guy, but he's got to play better." Bottom line.
Agreed.
Anybody? Yeah, we need to bring a vet to help him compete. I don't know. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm thinking about like what's out there. Who could potentially be out there that we could bring in um to change things. And I don't know why I was thinking about Tyrod. And somebody's probably like, why are you talking about Tyrod Taylor? But I was just thinking about from a mobility aspect, just a veteranness, someone that's been around in some other offenses. I know he's out in New York. He's not always 100% healthy, but I'm just thinking about guys that I feel like would want to be dedicated to helping make this team better. Not saying he should be your starting quarterback, but
It's
somebody
funny.
on that roster.
It's funny you mentioned Tyrod Taylor. He's a 7'5" guy. He's a
He
Hampton
sure
Beach.
is. Hampton
Yeah,
Roads.
there, Hampton
What
Roads.
up,
Excuse
Ty?
me. I mean, he's that kind of guy. But no,
Mhm.
they got 2 vets right now. You got Mitch. You got Trubisky. I don't know what other vet's going to challenge Pickett. And if Pickett's your guy, no one's really going to challenge him. If Pickett is
Yeah.
your franchise quarterback, so I don't see that being really as a useful tool to improve Pickett's play.
Josh Dobbs. Look, how many stints would that be? I love everything that's going on for Josh Dobbs and the recognition he's getting. Someone's gonna try to scoop him up. He's not gonna. I feel like he's not gonna be a journeyman forever.
Yeah, he's got to go to a place where he can compete. Guy's a rock star, so kudos to him. He's not coming to Pittsburgh to be a clear number 2.
Yeah. I feel like his days in Pittsburgh are over. Ben loved him. I felt like when Ben was done, Josh Dobbs' time in Pittsburgh was done as well. He's a great asset to Ben. Watching those two on the sidelines with the tablets was awesome. So, well, I first I want to thank you guys. Thank you to everyone in the chat that joined us. I would love to keep this going, but I know it's late, and I just wanted to get some like initial reactions and really talk about what this means and where we go from here. And there's a lot of unknowns, and I think Sunday is going to be extremely telling when the players do their next set of interviews around practice as they get ready for this game on Sunday. And the media gets to touch those players because Mike Tomlin, we didn't talk about this. Mike Tomlin didn't tell the team. The team found out as we found out. So let me get your opinion on that before we wrap this up, because those guys woke up to the news like us. And I don't know were there any players' reactions online, because I didn't really see any.
Not besides Cam, obviously, with his
Right.
podcast. Nothing that I've seen otherwise.
How do you guys feel about Coach Tomlin not telling the team?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Tuesdays are their off days, so I'm not really sure like the whole entire team is at the facility on Tuesdays, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, they're
I
it's
think that's
Tomlin.
okay.
They usually don't practice on Tuesdays, but just just like a message went out to the masses here, they got emails and they have group chats and all that good stuff. I'm just curious as to why it didn't seem important enough to give them a heads up. That makes sense. Because to me, I feel like the media, them finding out through the media to me is interesting. Him sitting his staff down and kind of breaking that down to them because they're all in the building on Tuesday. But also he said that Kenny was in the building. So Kenny was there at the facility. So some guys showed up today. And so I wonder if they found out the news at the facility, depending on what time they got there, or if they found out, when they woke up in the morning.
I did see I thought it was funny. Joey Porter Jr. posted on his Instagram him and Keanu Benton were playing chess. I guess they were at the facility. I thought that was pretty,
Okay, yeah. See, some
pretty
guys
funny.
went to the facility today. I'm stirring the pot. I'm just curious. I'm not stirring the pot. And for this, I'm not a fan of the Leftwich thing. So I'll put that up there. Sorry. Does anybody have any opinions on OC of Leftwich? Like I'm not a fan of it personally.
I wouldn't want to see it. I think they're going to have their choice of coordinators. I would like to see someone that has played at a high level. Quarterback, I believe, would be helpful for Kenny. And there are some guys out there that I think are going to do a better job than Leftwich, just based off of what he did in his most recent job. That's just my opinion.
I agree with Ken. I think the next OC is going to be somebody with a real quarterback background. May not be somebody that played at a high level, but their goal is to fix Kenny Pickett, to make him work. They're going to find it as quarterback, quote unquote, guru as you possibly can for the next OC. I don't have a real strong opinion for or against Leftwich right now. I have to do more research on his tenure. He got, obviously, things fell apart in Tampa Bay. He got accused of running the ball too much, being too conservative. We'll see, but his name will be connected a lot. And I would not be surprised if he at least got an interview with the team, just given the connections, relationship with Tomlin, et cetera, et cetera. To your question, D, about the players not finding out, it is interesting. What Cam Hayward said, he got into his lift and he found out. Like, that's not the way I would expect Cam Hayward to find out that this crazy coaching change was made.
That is crazy, yo.
Yeah, basically the firing equivalent of a "you up" text, like, "Hey, Canada's gone. See ya."
Right? Like, wait,
so why that was, I don't know. My only thought to that is Pittsburgh did not want it to leak out before they could announce it. Pittsburgh runs the tightest ship in maybe all sports. Like, when was the last time an OC got fired and the team announced it and not Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or somebody scooped it? And so I think Pittsburgh loves to have that real tight inner circle of only the need to know until it's public. And so that's my guess of why that was not mentioned to the players until it became essentially public information.
And it became a circus. There were sites that I didn't even know they paid attention to Pittsburgh Steelers reporting this. And I'm like, wait, there were like gossip blogs reporting about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their offensive coordinators. So that means they're using this for engagement. So this was a big deal. And like we said earlier, you're not old enough for it to have seen it the first time. You're not old enough. Nobody on the screen is old enough to have witnessed someone leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers in season because they weren't doing their job according to plan. We could talk about Adrian Klemm, but that was in December. He got another job, and that was literally the end of the season. And he wasn't quote unquote fired, right?
And not a coordinator.
Yes, and not a coordinator. He was the offensive line guy.
Right. 1941, last time it happened. And everyone, I'm going to get real dirty again for 2 seconds. I apologize. But everyone says the ESPN stat is Burt Bell was the guy. He did leave, but the guy after him to replace Burt Bell in 41, Aldo Buff Dinelli, resigned after him. So technically, Dinelli was the last coordinator head coach to leave midseason. He left because he was coaching Duquesne and Pittsburgh at the same time. And the NFL said, you can't do that. You got to pick one team or the other. He went to Duquesne, left Pittsburgh midseason. So very annoying, nerdy fun fact here from Alex. I'm your little Snapple cap today with just information.
Alex, we love it. Like, come on, Alex, you. He is the Steelers nerd, and we love it. No, you're officially it. We got to get you. look, my little Matt Canada cape is now vintage. So I'm gonna have to get me, Alex Kozora nerd attire or something. I don't know.
Well,
Sold in stores.
I just want to know what is to become of that. All Steeler Nation wants to know, D, what is going to become of the Canada Cape? Is it going to be in a museum somewhere, or is it going to be auctioned off for charity, or what
I might have to cover up Minka with it. I don't know. I don't know. I feel bad because it was a 3-0 cape. I did not wear it on Sunday. I apologize.
There you go. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. I take responsibility for my negligence, and I'm sorry. So I will keep the cape. I will keep it. Shout out to Miss Cherie. She actually made it for me. And I'll figure out what to do with it. It's definitely something I'm gonna keep for a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody wants it.
You may have to pay to give it away. Can I ask you guys just a question really quickly? Is
Yeah.
Matt Canada coaching anywhere next year? Like, where is his next job going to be? I imagine he'll coach somewhere, not as an OC in the NFL, but do you
It's
think he's
gonna be
coaching somewhere?
I think it'll be college. If he goes anywhere, it'll be college somewhere.
Just to go off of what Ken and Alex were saying earlier about Byron Leftwich, I wouldn't be mad about it, but I feel like if he were to be brought in, that it from a majority of Steeler fans, it would be looked at as he has deep ties to the Steelers organization, and it would be looked at as like a promotion from within again.
I agree.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that, and I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm open to him getting an interview. Some of Kingsbury is a guy that some people are mentioning here. We got a couple mentions of him, and look, I'm open to it. And again, to answer your question, Alex, and we'll probably ping pong back and forth about a new one and where Matt Canada goes. I think Matt Canada is probably best in college. Somebody else in college will give him a shot. There'll be some. I don't want to say desperation. That's not the right word, but there'll be some opportunities, right? So we'll see.
We'll see.
Anybody else have any Bryce or Ken think where Matt Canada lands next? I wish him the best of luck. Honestly, like I told you guys when I first wore his cape, I sat next to his wife when they first started really chanting that stuff, and having to sit next to his family and listen to that is really heartbreaking. So I didn't participate in those things. So I wish them well. I don't like people losing their jobs. It's the holiday. Like the holiday is this week, and that's tough. That's tough to have to gather around a bunch of friends and family and knowing that you just lost your job. So
I agree with you,
that's
D.
a tough
And
thing.
along that line, I think I told you this at the Titans game before I went down to my seat before the game. There's a gentleman I did not know who was in a Steeler jersey, and he took great delight in telling me that he was going to participate in chanting Fire Canada, and he was going to be booing Kenny. This was before the game. I turned around, I looked him in the eye, and I said, I support the Steelers, and I will not be participating in either one of those things. I'm going to try to help us win the game if it's any way possible. So I just don't understand that mindset of some of our fans.
We spoiled, man.
As bad as he was, like, he really is a good dude. I actually had a chance to meet him at training camp, and he took time for all the fans and took pictures and signed autographs, and it's a sad thing for him.
Yeah, he seemed like a good guy, but you could just tell he just a lot of probably the joy that he may have had when he first walked in that building was stolen. It was gone.
And these coaches work hard. And Cam Hayward made this point. Like these guys, whether you like them or not, whether they're effective or not, these guys work their tails off more than the players.
Yeah.
They're burning the midnight oil trying to make this thing work. It's got to be frustrating to try all that, to not work, and to have it end up this way. So, on a personal level, I don't celebrate. I don't take glee in his firing. Right move. You can separate professional from personal, though.
Right.
The man lost his job, and that's tough.
Yeah. And so again, we're getting the reactions here, and I know everybody doesn't feel the same, but I can't do anything but from my heart just be respectful. That's just how I am as a person. So Anyway, it's in any last rounds. I'll have you guys go around, and anything else you want to add. If you want to tell people where to follow you on social media, I really want to thank you guys for coming through. I think people are scared to get on camera, but I also appreciate the questions because it definitely helps. So I love it. I love the engagement. So we'll start with Bryce. If you want to say anything, you were the last to join us, so I'll give you the first last mic.
I apologize for joining so late.
No,
I
don't
got
apologize.
on and saw your link. I was like, oh crap, I need to get on there and say hello. But no, I hope they go out this Sunday and go out there and make a statement and show that they're open to change. For the rest of not just for the rest of this season, but the off season and going into 24 next year.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
I look for us to finish up the season strong. I agree with what Bryce is saying. I still think we are a playoff team. Let's get things righted on the offense. If we can just play average football on the offensive
20
side.
points. 20 points.
You're right.
I want to average 20
Because
points a game.
that defense does not give up a lot of points. And yeah, I still think that we can go somewhere and we can progress this year. And let's enjoy it. Let's
Yeah.
enjoy the ride. And I enjoy being with all of you and so many of the friends. And can't wait to see you all at training camp in Latrobe next year again, too.
I just want to say, if anybody's watching, follow me on Twitter at the 412kid _.
Yeah.
Almost
Give
a
my man
2K.
Bryce
Almost
say it
a
one more
2K.
time. I cut
So
you off.
you go my my handle.
Yeah, go ahead one more time. Sorry, I cut you off.
You follow me on Twitter at the 412kid _.
All
Almost
right,
2K.
give my man Bryce a follow there. All right, and Alex.
Well, I gotta say first, Ken, is that a Mark Bruner jersey you're wearing?
No, my friend.
Even
I
later.
am old. I'm old as dirt. I remember when the gentleman who wore this jersey, and in fact, he signed it on the back, who was one of the greatest players to go from being a tight end who caught the very first touchdown pass
Larry
in Steelers
Brown.
Super Bowl history. Yes, Larry Brown, who was just a gem of a person. One of my favorites I've ever met, and he's always quite the gentleman. Larry signed it for me last year, and I got this made special because you cannot buy a 79.
You can't.
Because he was later a Pro Bowl right tackle in his career, and he's in the Steeler Hall of Honor with number 79. And when he signed this for me, I could see he really had to be really careful about making 8-7 because he's so used to writing 79. But yeah, that's who it is. My man Larry.
No, I love that. That's amazing, Ken. No, I echo what you guys said, and in some sense, for Sullivan and Faulkner, like if they can score 20 points per game, they're going to build statues of these guys. It'll be Clemente, Bradshaw, and Faulkner and Sullivan. The bar, in that sense, the expectations are so low. But I agree. Well, I don't know how this thing's going to go, and this offense is not going to turn around in an instant. I'm excited about this offense, the future, what it could look like. It's been a while since I could say excited and Steelers offense in the same sentence. So we'll see where things go on Sunday.
Yeah, we have a big level of optimism, and I'm excited and I'm nervous at the same time. It's still AFC North ball coming up, right? It's still a battle of these defenses. No matter who's hindered, who is healthy, it's going to be a battle. We've lost to backup quarterbacks. It's possible. So this team has to go into Cincinnati and get that W to revitalize this team and its new form. So I'm excited. I'm nervous, and I hope they can rise above all of the criticism that they're receiving and be who we know they can be. We have amazing talent on both sides of the ball. So now we just got to go out there and prove we're those guys. It's getting tight in the AFC North. It's always been tight. It never was not tight. So we're slowly eliminating Cincinnati, and we got to keep that train going. So yeah.
Are you going to the game? Sunday?
I'm not. I'm not
Not?
going to the game. No Ohio games for me. I will be back in Pittsburgh when they play the Cardinals. I believe that is the 3rd of December. So when Kyler Murray comes to town, I will be there. And that, which looked like a good W, good W for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is going to be a tough one because they score points. Kyler can get his team in the end zone. So and throws a deep ball. So we know how we struggle with that. So that'll be interesting. And but I don't want to look past Cincinnati because this is a very important game. So I thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate your time. Everyone is really enjoying the lives. I may try to keep these up. I don't know. It's kind of fun and it makes my life easier too in so many ways. But I really appreciate you guys joining me, and I will let y'all go. Have a great night, and I will see you soon. Thanks,
Thank you.
y'all.